Leeway sat in his office, trying to piece together the information May had given him. He wondered if she truly knew the mastermind behind her family's death, or if she was simply trying to get into his head. Even if her intentions were manipulative, there was still a possibility that she was connected to the truth in some way. His eyes shifted to the file lying open on his desk, which indicated that her company had been awarded the maintenance tender for the university exactly 10 years ago, immediately after his own family's death. The timing felt far too precise to be a coincidence. He considered how these events could be linked and resolved that he would need to dig deeper to uncover the truth. His assistant entered and informed him that the inspection team for the university cafeteria would be arriving soon, asking if he wished to join them. Leeway agreed and instructed him to notify him the moment they arrived. After his assistant left, Leeway remained seated, staring at the file, his mind racing as he tried to connect every piece of information. Meanwhile, after class, Kevin spotted Amara and hurried over to her. He asked if she was still shaken by the previous day's events, but she assured him she was fine. Kevin then invited her to lunch at the school cafeteria, promising to treat her to something delicious. Amara initially tried to decline, but Kevin insisted until she agreed. The two made their way to the cafeteria and sat down to eat. As they shared their meal, Kevin's eyes lingered on her. Amara, noticing, asked if there was something on her face, but Kevin simply admitted he was admiring her beauty. She smiled shyly, thanking him and offering a compliment in return. Kevin took a sip of his juice, composed himself, and told her he wanted to ask something. When she encouraged him to speak, he hesitated, took another sip, and finally asked if she would be free to go on a date with him that evening. At that very moment, Leeway entered the cafeteria with the inspection team. Amara's attention shifted to him immediately, watching as he walked in with a commanding presence. Students around the room lit up with excitement at his arrival. Leeway began instructing the inspection team on what to check and insisted they detail everything thoroughly. As he turned, his gaze fell upon Amara and Kevin sitting together. A wave of anger surged through him, his jaw tightening. The image stirred an unshakable memory of the evening he had shared a simple dinner with Amara, an image he had never been able to push from his thoughts. His assistant, noticing the sudden change in his mood, quietly asked if he was all right. Without looking away from the pair, Leeway asked for Kevin's name, pointing directly at him. The assistant glanced over at Kevin, uncertain, and admitted he did not know, but promised to check the school database. Leeway instructed him to do so and to summon Kevin to his office. When asked whether he would be continuing the inspection, Leeway's eyes once again moved to Amara and Kevin before he stated flatly that the smell of food was making him sick. With that, he left, leaving his assistant puzzled by his abrupt departure. Back in his office, Leeway poured himself a glass of water and drank, trying to steady his thoughts. He then opened his laptop and, with deliberate focus, began typing a search query: how to stop thinking about someone. Countless articles appeared, and he read them carefully, determined to erase every trace of emotion he felt for Amara. Yet he realized the cruel irony. The more he tried to suppress thoughts of her, the more she dominated his mind. As he sat immersed in his reading, his assistant returned to announce that Kevin, the student he had summoned, was waiting outside. Leeway instructed him to send him in. Moments later, Kevin entered the room, and Leeway lifted his gaze, watching as the young man walked steadily toward his desk. Leeway watched as Kevin walked toward him, his sharp gaze scanning the young man as he stopped in front of him. Kevin greeted him politely, unsure why someone of Leeway's stature, a prestigious university director, had summoned him. His heart pounded with unease, thoughts racing. Had he done something wrong? Was his scholarship about to be terminated? Leeway remained silent, his piercing eyes fixed on Kevin. Countless thoughts crossed his mind. He wondered if Amara truly felt something for Kevin, for her to be spending time with him so soon after meeting. What exactly had Kevin done to draw her in? Was he truly that great? Better than him? The weight of Leeway's silence made Kevin's heart race even faster. The tension in the air was heavy, and he stood there wondering what this meeting was really about. Finally, Leeway spoke. His tone was calm, yet laced with authority, as he remarked that he was aware Kevin was on a scholarship. Kevin nodded in agreement, listening intently. Leeway continued, stating that he had reviewed Kevin's academic performance and found him to be a capable, promising student. Kevin allowed a faint smile to surface at the compliment. However, Leeway's next words cut into that moment of relief. He pointed out that despite his academic ability, Kevin seemed to have far too much free time he spent lingering around campus, instead of pursuing activities that could benefit his education and future. Kevin, taken aback, asked how Leeway could possibly know how he spent his free time. He half-jokingly wondered if the university kept tabs on its scholarship students. Leeway dismissed the question quickly, avoiding revealing that he had personally noticed Kevin with Amara on multiple occasions. Instead, he told Kevin he should consider joining as many university clubs as possible to keep himself productively engaged. He handed Kevin a neatly organized file containing a complete list of all campus clubs and activities. He advised him to join as many as he could, emphasizing that idleness was not suitable for a student with his potential. Kevin accepted the file and thanked him, saying he would look through it the following day. Leeway, however, urged him to review the list immediately and join without delay, stressing that there was no time to waste. Kevin hesitated, then mentioned that he had something planned for that evening but would look at the clubs afterward. Without thinking, he added that he had a date to attend, then froze, instantly realizing he had just revealed more than he intended. Apologizing quickly, Kevin said he hadn't meant to bring up his personal life in the meeting, but Leeway, already knowing who the date was with, felt his chest tighten at the confirmation. Containing his reaction, he stepped closer, assuring Kevin that there was no need to apologize. Dating was perfectly normal for students. Kevin, sensing the director's unexpectedly approachable demeanor, opened up further. He admitted that he was nervous because he planned to ask the girl to be his girlfriend that evening. Leeway's expression grew colder at the thought, but then he realized this meant they were not officially dating yet. A quiet sense of relief settled in. Masking his thoughts, Leeway placed a firm but seemingly friendly hand on Kevin's shoulder and wished him the best of luck. Kevin thanked him sincerely and promised to follow through on joining the clubs before leaving the office. As Kevin walked away, Leeway remained standing in the quiet room, a faint sense of reassurance in his chest. Amara was not yet in a relationship with Kevin, and for now, that meant nothing was truly happening between them. That evening, Amara was getting ready for her date with Kevin. Momo, who was far more excited than she was, stood beside her, helping her choose an outfit and making sure she looked perfect. Momo admitted that she was jealous Amara was going on her first date, and confessed she couldn't wait for her own chance to come. Moving closer, she asked what Amara's response would be if Kevin asked her to be his girlfriend. Amara paused, letting the question sink deep into her mind. Her thoughts drifted to Leeway, the man she wished it could have been instead. She wished it was him who had asked her on a date, him who would confess his feelings and actually ask her out. But she knew it was nothing more than a foolish wish. Someone like him, who constantly claimed his heart would never accommodate anyone, would never do such things. She hated that he was the first man she had ever felt this way about. Even though he seemed like a dangerous monster on the outside, she couldn't deny or resist the effect he had on her heart. Snapping out of her thoughts, she looked at Momo and said she had never really thought about dating, insisting she wanted to focus on her studies. Momo, slightly disappointed, told her not to be boring, that dating Kevin wouldn't be a bad idea at all. She reminded Amara that they were both studying medicine, making them a potential power couple, future doctors. Kevin seemed like a true gentleman who would treat her like a princess. Amara smiled faintly and told her they would see about that. Glancing at her phone, she noticed the time and mentioned that Kevin might already be outside waiting for her. They both headed out. Momo stood at the door, watching as Amara walked toward Kevin, who had indeed been waiting. Kevin looked at her with admiration, telling her she looked absolutely stunning before opening the car door for her. They both got in and drove away. Meanwhile, Leeway had gone to visit one of the family's oldest friends, an elderly woman who had once worked for his family and was a close companion to his late mother. She was old now, so Leeway often visited her to help with household chores or simply to keep her company. After assisting her, he sat alone in the backyard smoking, his mind running wild. He couldn't stop thinking about Amara. He thought about the date Kevin had mentioned, wondering if it was happening at that very moment, if Kevin had already asked her to be his girlfriend. The thought made something inside him twist painfully. He tried to suppress the emotions, telling himself it was better this way, that maybe someone taking her away would finally force him to stop thinking about her. But it still broke his heart. As he sat there, the old woman, whom he always called grandmother, came to join him. She glanced at the cigarette between his fingers and reminded him it was bad for him. Leeway threw it down, putting it out with his shoe, and muttered that smoking helped him calm down, promising he would stop once he had solved everything in his life. The old woman studied him closely before asking what was troubling him. Leeway gave a quiet chuckle before admitting he had met a girl. Her face lit up as she eagerly asked who she was and whether he liked her. Leeway paused, then confessed it had never been his intention to like her or fall for her. He had built his walls high, made his heart so cold that no one could ever break through. But somehow she had managed to do exactly that. He told her he was doing everything he could to suppress those emotions, because he wasn't supposed to feel that way about her. The old woman asked why he was trying so hard to fight it, telling him that sometimes it was better to stop resisting. The more he held back, the stronger the feelings would become. Leeway shook his head, insisting his world was too dangerous to pull someone into it. His mission was dangerous, possibly fatal, and bringing someone close would be selfish. It would only double her burdens. She already had her own problems to face, and being involved with him would add the dangers of his world on top of that. The old woman's expression softened. She asked what if, in truth, he feared he would be a danger to her, when in reality she might be the one to make him feel human again, to make him see life in a different way, to remind him it was worth living. Leeway told her he didn't want to feel human again, not until he avenged his family. He said he had no right to smile or enjoy life while the souls of his loved ones cried out for vengeance. Taking his hand gently, the old woman told him she had watched him grow from a baby into the man he was today, and that he did deserve to feel human. She reminded him that people don't always come into our lives by accident. Sometimes they are sent by God to help us. If he missed this opportunity because of his rigid principles, he would regret it one day when he saw her with someone else. If this girl had truly touched his heart, she was special, and surely other men would see what he saw and take her from him. Leeway insisted that loving her would only be dangerous and that he didn't want her exposed to harm. But the old woman told him that if he loved her, he would become her protector, ensuring nothing could touch her. She said he had a choice: either let her go completely and erase her from his heart to focus solely on his mission, or love her, protect her, and still carry out his mission. Leeway fell silent, his eyes fixed on hers, his mind racing. Then, without warning, he rose abruptly to his feet, thanking her for helping him see things differently. When she asked where he was going, he gave a small chuckle and said he was going to get his woman. With that, he rushed off, leaving her smiling in satisfaction that she had been able to guide her old friend's son toward a different perspective. Driving at high speed, Leeway's thoughts were consumed by the fear of losing Amara to someone else. He wondered if Kevin had already asked her to be his girlfriend, and just the thought of her agreeing drove him to madness. He pressed harder on the accelerator. He had to reach her before it was too late. Even if it meant interrupting her date and taking her away by force, he would rather have her hate him than lose her. It was in that moment he truly realized how deep he had fallen, how every part of his being, body, and soul yearned for her, how much he wanted her, how far he would go, how he would burn the entire world down, just to keep her safe. Under the soft glow of the starlit sky, Amara and Kevin sat across from each other, sharing a quiet, romantic dinner. Kevin's eyes rarely left her, his gaze tender yet filled with anticipation. In his hand, hidden beneath the table, he held a delicate necklace he planned to give her if she agreed to become his girlfriend. Amara thanked him for bringing her out, admitting shyly that it was her first-ever date. Kevin's lips curved into an amused smile, telling her he was honored to be the first man to take her on such an occasion, and that she deserved every beautiful thing life could offer. Gathering his courage, he reached across the table and took her hand. Amara, caught off guard, asked if something was wrong, but Kevin's eyes never wavered from hers. He told her that from the moment she had walked in for the interview and sat beside him, he had thought she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. The way she had been buried in her notes, focused and dedicated, had only deepened that beauty. That day, he had silently prayed she would pass the interview so their paths could cross again. When she failed to appear afterward, his heart had sunk. But when she finally came, it felt as though the universe had given him a second chance. His voice softened, and he told her that every time he saw her, his only wish was to make her the happiest woman in the world. He had been thinking about her constantly, and now he wanted to ask her the question that had been on his mind. With a hopeful smile, he asked her to be his girlfriend. Amara sat frozen, her mind spinning. She had seen this moment coming, yet it still felt too soon. Kevin was a good man, gentle, respectful, the kind any woman would be lucky to have. But she hated that her heart wished it was someone else asking, someone cold and guarded, someone who could never say the sweet words Kevin had just spoken. Leeway. She wondered if she was making a mistake by even thinking of Leeway when Kevin seemed so perfect for her. Kevin waited patiently for her answer. Just as Amara was about to speak, the air shifted. A tall shadow approached, and both she and Kevin turned to see Leeway striding toward them, his gaze locked on her with unshakable intensity. The world around them seemed to fall away as he reached their table, stopping beside her chair. He didn't acknowledge Kevin's presence at first. His attention was entirely on Amara. His voice was low, almost strained, as if holding back a storm. He told her he couldn't watch her sit here with someone else, that every second seeing her smile at another man felt like a blade against his chest. Kevin's confusion broke the moment. He stood, demanding to know why Leeway was there and what gave him the right to intrude. Leeway's gaze flickered toward him briefly, cold but calm, before returning to Amara. Then, softer, almost a plea, he stretched his hand toward her. "Come with me." Amara's breath caught. She could feel Kevin's eyes on her, waiting for her refusal. But in Leeway's expression, she saw something she had never seen before, a rare, unguarded desperation. For a heartbeat, she hesitated. Then, without a word, she placed her hand in his. Leeway's shoulders eased the moment her fingers touched his, as if she'd just given him back the air he'd been missing. He helped her from her seat, his grip protective rather than forceful. Without another glance at Kevin, he led her out into the night. She didn't resist. Part of her hated herself for it, but part of her couldn't ignore the way it felt to be the one person who could unravel him like this. Kevin stood there by himself, trying to piece together what had just happened right in front of him.